My ship is complete and ready to be imported into Unity. There are just a couple of things I want to do. The first thing is the body has got the generic name cube, and the engine I've made it's got the generic name of cylinder. I'm going to change these, so double click, and I'm going to rename this engine, and this I'm going to call the body. And the other thing I want to do is make the engine part of the body. And to do that, just grab this little symbol here next to engine, and drag it up over body, and it becomes a child of the body. This means that if I select the body, then the engine moves with it, which is convenient. Now, before I export it, I'm just going to zero its position. So up here we're 0 on the X and the Y, that's fine, so I'll just 0 it on the Z as well. Right, so that object is now at 0. And I'm going to save it. I'll show you where. I've actually created a Unity project. I've got the basic folders that we'll need, and I've also saved the scene into the scenes folder as main. Okay, so that's all been set up. Back to Unity. I want to save my mesh directly into that folder. So we've got Space Defender and the Assets folder, and I'm going to put it straight into the Models folder. I call this my ship. Again, so just saving it directly into that folder. Now while I'm here, I've also got another model I'm going to save. This is my ship. I'll need some enemies. So I'm going to open another one. I don't know where I got the idea for this ship, but it looks quite strange, doesn't it? So I'll save that into the folder as well. So I'll call this enemy ship. That's it. I've done with Unity now. I've done with Blender, I mean. We've just started with Unity. So I'm going to close that. And here we are back in Unity, and we should find that I've got the models here in the folder. It might take a little while just to import them. Right, so there's my ship and the enemy ship. So I'll start by putting my ship onto the scene. Now, when you've got a mesh like this, it's a good idea to create an empty object to put it into. So I'm going to create an empty. I'm going to call this Defender, because that's what it is. Right, and I'm going to make sure that this object is set at 0. And then I'm just going to put the ship as a child of that. So I'm just going to drag it onto Defender, make sure it's highlighted in blue. And there it should appear. Right, it hasn't imported my UV map, so I'm going to have to put that in as well. Right. So I'm going to go to Assets, import a new asset. It's funny, sometimes it seems to do that, other times it doesn't. I seem to remember putting it in there. we need to change the decoration for the ship. And there it is. Okay, so we've got the UV wrapping done. Lovely. Now, as you can see, the thing with Blender and Unity is that the axes are different. So in Unity, the y-axis is vertical. In Blender, the z-axis is vertical. So when we import Blender objects in, it's automatically rotated by -90 degrees in this axis. But this object is pointing in the right direction, which is fine, which is just what I want. So Z is forward. Right. Now, it looks okay. I'm going to just add a bit of stuff to this to make it look a bit more dynamic. I'm just going to move it around in that direction. Yeah, you can use this gizmo to rotate things by 90 degrees. Anyway, so we can spin around it that way. We can look at it from the top or underneath. Right, so I'm going to add a plume of fire coming out at the back here for the jet engine to make it look fairly dynamic. So having got my defender here, I can just add another object here, which would be effects and a particle system. Right, so there's my particle system. As you can see, it's going in completely the wrong direction for a start off. So we need to change that. So we'll have a look at the shape. And what we need to do is rotate it around the x-axis. So I'm going to rotate not the x-axis at all. Oh, it's the position, sorry. There's the rotation. Right. Looks like -90 degrees there. Right, it's going in the right direction now. It doesn't look like. So I'm going to reduce the radius of this a bit better, and I'm going to reduce the angle as well. In fact, make it come out straight. That's looking a lot better. So in fact, I can increase the radius a bit more. The next thing I'm going to do is increase the number of particles emitted per time. Right, so here in the emission, we've got 10 over time. So if I increase that to say, let's try 15. Right, it's much more solid now. And I'll change the size of the particles. That's looking much better now. It's far too long, so what I'm going to do is decrease the lifetime of the particles, and that should shorten the plume. Okay, right. Now I'm going to add a bit of colour into that. Just zoom in again. Right, so colour. So we've got colour over lifetime. I'll just tick the box there. Open it up. And now we can edit a gradient. So we'll start off with it being sort of red colour maybe. Okay, right, that's pretty fiery. And then we'll add another colour in here to make it turn into an orangey colour. Green. Right, yep. Close that. White is fine here, but I'll make it fade out. So put another icon in here, another marker. So that's 250, which means it's opaque. But from here, we'll make it fade down to 0. Right. Okay. The next thing I'll do is the size over the lifetime. So we want to make it start big and then end up small as it disappears. So we can change that between, well, say 2 constants. So it started off at 2 and go down to 0.5. Okay, I think with that I can decrease the overall size as well. Start size down. Okay, and bring it in closer. Right, I might so increase the start speed. Perhaps increase the emission, say 20. Alright, that'll do for now. I might fiddle about with it later, but we'll keep that as it is for now. The next thing I'm going to do is add a bit of a light to it so we can see a light coming from the engine. Let's look. Because it looks a bit dark in there, so it should be bright really. So I'm going to click back on here and create just create a light. Let's make it a point light. Bring that inside the engine, and I can change things here. So I'll change the color to yellow. Okay, and increase the intensity. Right, so now we've got a glow inside the engine, which makes it look much more convincing. Now, the background doesn't look too convincing, does it? We've got this sky here, so we want to change the overall environment. Let's get rid of that. And so we'll look at the main camera, and instead of having a skybox which gives us this horizon, we'll change it to a solid color, and I guess in space we're going to make that darker. I'm not going to go entirely black. I'm going to have a bit of glow there. Right. Now we've got our camera view here, and we can see the camera is exactly behind the ship. I want a better view than that because it's a bit blinding. So I'm going to move the camera up a bit. So again, go to that side, up, and rotate it a little bit on the x-axis. So we're looking down on the ship. Up a bit more. And in a bit. Okay, that's not bad. Now we can save that scene, and we can play it. And well, it's firing away there as the light is glowing nicely. But it doesn't seem to be moving. And this is the trick with this game. The ship doesn't actually move at all. It stays put. But we need to give the impression of moving. And this is where another particle system can help. So I'm going to create a new effect. It's the particle system. I'm going to put it right in front of the ship. And change the direction. So I'm going to rotate it in the same way as the, so I've got minus 90 there. Right. 0 and 0. Right, I don't like that. Let's make it 40. Right, so now we can see that the particles are coming towards the ship, and it's that relation we're looking for. I'm going to make them travel a lot faster than that. So the particles coming out a bit faster, I think. And suddenly our ship is rushing into the distance. Right. Let's just have a look at that. Okay, now it looks as if the ship is moving forwards. The only strange thing is that when you start off, it's like the Big Bang. So we want those particles to be coming out as we start the game. And we can do that by pre-warming it. So down here we've got a pre-warm option, which only works if it's a looping system. Let's try that. Okay, that looks good. So far we haven't done any coding. We'll leave that for next time. Just save it. And then next time we'll actually move the ship.